Welcome to worship with the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is Reverend Jennifer Innis. It is my great joy to be the minister with this congregation of people of all ages, at all stages of life, in all the seasons. What a glorious, glorious day. This is a beloved community striving to live into its mission of embracing freedom, loving wholeheartedly, growing in mind, body, and spirit, and adding to the healing of the world. We welcome people of all ethnicities and races, sexual orientation, gender identities, social and economic situations, politics, all that is among us. And we are advocates for human rights, and we strive to be good stewards of this earth as well. We have an agenda, and we live it. Thank you. In living that mission, I thank you, Pat. In living this mission, we recognize the network of relationships of which we are a part, for this is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They and other nations were here long before the first European settlers came down the Illinois River. We take a moment in worship as we gather to honor the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. I want to thank everybody for joining us in person and online. We have come to recognize yet again how precious it is to be with one another, how important it is to expand our circles of care and connection, and so it is just plain good to gather. If you are new, please help us get to know you. Stay for coffee and conversation out in Fellowship Hall after the service. Stay and chat on Zoom as well. We have an abundance of name tags. By all means, let's everybody wear a name tag. They are all the fashion and the rage. So let's do that, and thank you. And I also want to invite folks to make sure to turn and greet your neighbor after the service and make sure that we're connecting with people. We have a lot of new folks who've been joining us, and we want to make sure to say hello to everyone. After the service today, along with coffee, of course, we have a couple of important events. One is the soup lunch that is benefiting our school outreach program to Pleasant Valley Middle School. That is one of the fundraisers that we have. It's a by donation participation, and everybody is welcome. We also have, I want to encourage getting soup, enjoying soup, and then, hey, being ready for a meeting. We have the fall congregational meeting that is happening after we have lunch. We'll be enjoying lunch and then coming back in here for the meeting because we do have better ways to hear and talk with each other on the whole. And I want to invite people to join us, whether you can be in person or online. We really want to make sure we have the minimum quorum to conduct the business, and because it is far better to have more people in the room for the conversation. That's how a congregation works, is that we all participate. So thank you. Next Sunday, we have a couple of notes. One is next Sunday evening, in particular, is the Transgender Day of Remembrance Memorial. This is hosted and created by Peoria Proud and will be at the Bradley Library. It'll be starting at 6 p.m. I want to encourage and invite everybody. This is something that everybody is welcome to attend. And I have the privilege of being able to offer part of the message for that evening. So I want to invite folks to join us. If you have any questions, please come see me. And the last note for the morning is that Thanksgiving, how is it that it's November and Thanksgiving is like almost today? I mean, can we just be real here, right? So I want to invite folks, if you would love a place to go and people to be with on Thanksgiving Day, this is the place. We have a potluck Thanksgiving dinner that we create together. We have a sign up out in the foyer, and you can also contact the church office to let you know if you'd like to bring something, you'd like to help with something, and so on. We start getting set up at noon. We have lunch, have the dinner sometime around 1 p.m. Everybody is welcome. Bring your friends and neighbors as well. All right, and now let us turn to entering into service with our opening hymn, number 40, The Morning Hangs a Signal. Please rise in body or spirit. We will sing all the verses. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Jennifer Stubbs for our opening words.
Call to Worship for Stewardship by Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. All that we are, together and individually, is part of the abundance of the universe. We are made of stars. We are made of earth. All that we have comes from earth, from the labor of those in our communities, from the cities, farms, and oceans that enliven us, the world and those who live in it. We are surrounded by blessing, by grace, and by possibilities. We are reflected in every other human being. We respect and honor one another's differences. We celebrate our interbeing with abundance and the practice of generosity. Come, let us worship together.
I want to invite Regina and Riley to come light our chalice today.
We light this chalice for Unitarian Universalism. This is the church. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. This is our church.
I want to invite us into a moment of pause, of reflection. It occurred to me in the course of various conversations in the last couple of weeks that we've started the year, the congregational year, and have been filled to the brim with wonderful things to do and enjoy and share. And there was a certain degree of relief once October was over. Whew. Yeah, we did it. Now can we have a month of rest before November? Oh, I guess not. Okay. But it reminded me of the necessity and the value of simply pausing, of simply being in the moment. So I want to invite you in this time, during our music for meditation, to let the pause be with you, to let us share that together. And while we are present for the music for meditation, all are welcome to come forward and light candles for the joys, the sorrows, whatever is in your lives and is silent and with you. Let us begin. spirit of community in which we share and find strength and comfort. We turn our minds and hearts to one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need love and support, those who are ill, those in pain, either in body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We bring into our circle of care and offer our love and support to those who are knowing joy and anniversaries and gratitude. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We're grateful for the miracle of consciousness we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, to care. We offer the joys and sorrows of our congregation in this time. We offer a note of encouragement to Bob and Sherry Dearborn, because goodness knows people need encouragement when they are moving, and they are moving within Peoria this weekend. Let's offer our best wishes for a good transition. I want to offer, we have a couple of notes of condolences and care. We offer our condolences to Mary Keister and her best friend Amber. Amber's husband Derek died suddenly at the age of 37 in Indianapolis and leaves a lot of love and a lot of family and friends. We offer our care and our compassion and condolences to Amber, to all who knew Derek, and to Mary as well. We also offer our condolences to Sophie for her dog Mikey. And Mikey just recently passed as of yesterday, it looks like. We offer our condolences for the loss of a beloved animal friend. We offer our condolences for the loss of Mikey from the presence of Sophie's life. In our larger world, I want to turn and recognize this weekend for honoring Veterans Day. From the elder Meister Eckhart, if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. Today, we set aside time publicly to say thank you to our siblings who have served in the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, Navy, and Marines. To say thank you to all who served, whatever their role, wherever their service took them. We say thank you to those whose service was brief, to those who made a career of their service. We say thank you to those who remember their service with fondness, and to those whose time in service still haunts them. We say thank you to those who return to us largely intact, found families, found jobs, families, and who continue to find ways to serve their communities. We say thank you to veterans who returned with brokenness so deep that they continue to struggle to find a role or even a home in our communities. God of many names, source of all love, in the face of all this, sometimes the only prayer we have is thank you. And we pray it will be enough. We hold one more moment in silence, present to all the joys, the sorrows, names, milestones that are with us. They're among us, far more than we can share in one moment. Let us hold one more time of quiet, taking a breath, being present. Amen. Shalom. Salam. I invite Jesse Lachlan forward to offer our story today.
Our story today continues our theme of gratitude. Thank You, Amu, by Oji Mora. On the corner of First and Long, on top of the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred and made it smell delicious. Tonight's dinner will be the best I've ever had. And with that, Amu put down her spoon and sat to read a bit. And the scent of that scrumptious stew wafted out the window and down the hall and around the corner until Amu opened the door and she saw a little boy. Little boy, what are you doing there? Well, I just smelled the most delicious smell. What is it? Well, it's my thick red stew, said Amu. That sounds yummy. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It wouldn't hurt to share. Would you like some? And the little boy nodded, and Amu spooned out a bowl for him. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. And as she read, another knock at the door. Well, her stew's scent had wafted out the window and around the corner. And when Amu opened the door, there she saw a police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? Well, I smelled the most delicious smell. What is it? It's my thick red stew, said Amu. Ah, stew. The police officer's mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some, Miss Police Officer? Well, she nodded, and again Amu spooned some out from the big fat pot that was to be Amu's nice dinner. Thank you, Amu, the police officer said, and she went on her way. And so, for a second time, Amu closed the door, went back to her book, but the scent from her pot continued to waft through the neighborhood. And once again, Amu heard a knock at the door. And when she opened it, she saw the hot dog vendor. "What brings you to my home?" Amu exclaimed. "Well, I just smelled the most delicious smell." And again, Amu shared from her big pot was what was to be her very special dinner. "Thank you, Amu," said the hot dog vendor. And throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a doctor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, a bus driver, a construction worker, and even the mayor stopped by. And each time Amu heard, she shared. Soon the street lights darkened, and it was time for Amu to have her dinner. And when she opened her big pot of thick red stew, it was empty. There goes the best dinner I never had. And Amu sat at the table until now. Was there anybody left in that town? Who could that be? All of the people that Amu had fed that day were at her door. "I'm sorry, everyone," Amu said. "I don't have anything left to share." The little boy tugged on Amu's sleeve and said, "We're not here to have more stew. We're here to share with you." The police officer carried in salad, the mayor brought a roast chicken, the baker brought a collection of sweets, and on and on. The little boy even presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. That night, everyone who had knocked on Amu's door squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and they danced, and they ate, and they celebrated, while Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty. Her heart was full of happiness and love. And that dinner was the best dinner she ever had. Thank you, Amu. I wonder what we each can share. I wonder what yummy soup we'll have after service. The children are invited to join me for religious education down the hall.
So we recognize the value and the opportunity that comes with giving, with being generous. We rely on that as a congregation, as a religious community, because this is a body that is created and made possible by everything that people give, all the gifts, all the opportunities, all the skills and the talents, and simply the time and the care and the presence. All of this goes into making this congregation and our good work possible. And we recognize the act of giving by offering an intentional opportunity to do so during service when we gather to express and honor some of the values we hold most dear. So in this time, I want to offer, this is our invitation to giving for taking up a collection on Sunday. And part of our practice is that we share a bit of our giving with the world through our Share the Plate program. 1/3 of the undesignated offering will go to our monthly recipient, and 2/3 goes to the church operating budget. So for this month, I want to lift up our recipient, which is the East Bluff Community Center Food Pantry. They operate 4 Saturdays a month in the morning, and people can come. People can come and choose from a variety of things to take home, but also have a meal and be fed there as well. I was looking at some of their Facebook posts, and they do a lovely job with trying to invite the community and have multiple activities in the community as well. They also had a trunk or treat. They have like a 5K race to help kind of bring people to the community and kind of say, hey, this is a great place to be as well. So I want to invite folks to be generous as we're being part and supporting our recipient, the East Bluff Community Center Food Pantry, as well this month. So please name, if you have an envelope, if you want to designate a gift, please do so. And if you want to contribute electronically, there's a QR code in the order of service. And now I want to invite the ushers to share the collection plates. Will they come forward? Let me begin with a story about when someone was generous to me, though I wasn't aware of it at the time. So some years ago, my mother talked with me about one of the adults who was a member of the congregation where I grew up, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, Massachusetts. Now, this gentleman was one of the Sunday school teachers and the youth advisors when I was in, I think, junior and senior high. And I remember him. He was kind, he was engaging, he had kind of a nice fluffy beard. And his wife was also kind and engaging. It was a pleasure to talk with them whenever possible. And I ended up spending time with this family because they also had a young son. Now, let me take a moment to clarify a stereotype. There is this stereotype that teenagers make good babysitters. And very much, many teenagers make a lot of money by babysitting. But let me undo the notion of the stereotype. For whatever reason, I wasn't actually that good at babysitting as a teenager. I didn't even get repeat jobs within the church families. I'm just saying. Just saying. They tried, and maybe it didn't work. Okay. But with this family, we seemed to hit it off. And I did well enough. I did fine, I think, with them. To watch their little boy a number of times, I forget how many, but a number of times. And the gentleman, the member, would come to my house. We lived fairly close to each other. He'd come to my house and pick me up, and then he'd drop me off afterward. And in the car ride each way, we would chat. He would ask me about my life and my interests, and we'd have a pleasant conversation. And, in the course of things, that went along, and it was lovely. And, there was a point at which I graduated from high school, I went off to college, and I don't really have a lot of memory of encountering him much after that. So then years later, maybe 15, 20 years later, a long time, my mother told me more about this man and his choice to be involved with my classes at church and to ask me to babysit. He had had a conversation with her. He shared that he chose to be involved with the youth program because of me. He saw something special in me and wanted to be part of what was supporting me in my emerging life. I had had no idea this was the case. There were a lot of adults doing great and generous things. This was great. It needed to happen. But I didn't know that he had a particular motivation. What a quiet gift. What a powerful gift. And I'm still kind of in awe of it. As a teen, I was somewhat aware of how much I benefited from the networks of family, of church, of teachers at school. My family system was healthy enough that I could kind of take support for granted to a certain degree. I could trust it. That love was in the air, was part of the water in which I existed. I knew also about earning recognition because of doing well at school. I worked toward accomplishment. That's also was in the family system. Like, you got to strive, you got to succeed. That's important. But here was a gift I hadn't earned. This man simply saw me and wanted to be part of my life's foundation without expectation of recognition or return. And I remain entirely moved at his choice and his gift. In the cycle of our congregational year, the most obvious times when we talk about generosity and giving are in the spring, when we have our annual campaign and we ask for your financial commitments, and we spend a big chunk of the year hammering out the budget for the year to come, hoping that the pledges come in and all this. This has been part of my life for the entirety of my existence around church, so this is a seasonal thing, right? This month's theme is generosity, and I confess I am enjoying the chance to think about why we give of our lives without the undercurrent of the annual budget. It's kind of nice. Our language around giving certainly includes time and skill and mutual support, fixing things around the congregation, and much more. So much more, in addition to money. I am continually amazed by how much quiet giving happens. What we will never, ever know, the vastness of connection and network and thought and mutual care that is far more important, and really that truly makes things possible. Why and how we give is really so much more than things or dollars in the plate. I recognize that this season, as we're entering into November, is culturally one of our most intense calls to generosity of all kinds. I mean, here's a food drive, here's a coat drive, here's a gift drive, here's a benefit breakfast, here's a request for staffing the food pantry. Here's a request for helping, distribute the gifts, and much more. So maybe taking a moment to consider generosity is a way to get our bearings before the wall of demands of the holiday giving, like cheerfulness, comes fully in our face. Wow, it's a lot, right? I mean, there are real limits to our collective time and our individual and our collective time and energy, even when the causes are all excellent. Phew. I want to acknowledge the full range of personal and cultural forces, too. It's not simply as, hey, can you give? Oh, yeah, that sounds good, I can do that. It's not that simple either. There's a full range of personal and cultural encounter that swirls around the value of generosity. Where did you come from personally? What was your family like? What is your culture, your particular kind of larger culture, your subculture, whether or not it's from this country or another country and so on. And then, of course, we have all the media messages, that also have such an impact on what we think is important. But I do want to name one particular major influence, because one of the historic influences in our society right now is actually a Unitarian one. And this was from the British author Charles Dickens. I mean, he was Unitarian. And his most important story that we encounter in this time of year is A Christmas Carol, right? And I'm not rushing Christmas, I'm just saying. I'm not bringing it on any faster than it has to come. But it's coming. It just so happens that this year marks the 180th anniversary of A Christmas Carol. It's the same age as the church. How about that? And I'll also offer, as Jesse Laughlin and I were talking, we're hoping to offer a showing of what people might say is the best film version of A Christmas Carol, which is the Muppet Christmas Carol. There will be discussion, I'm sure. Charles Dickens encountered and wrote about the terrible deprivations of the poor and the impoverishment in London at the time, and the drastic imbalance of economics in that time as well. The haves and the have-nots, the difference was profound. And he tells this story in the time by talking about a fantastically miserly moneylender who had lost his heart, Ebenezer Scrooge, and found it again after being visited by ghosts of Christmas past and present and future. Scrooge has this conversion experience that stays with him for the rest of his life and brings love to all of his relationships, brings generosity into his heart, and he gives it out into the world and amplifies it fabulously. This is one of our kind of notable Western cultural stories, right? Scrooge. And this conversion, this healing of the self and expansion of the self, it amplifies all the giving. It connects not just for one moment of generosity or one particular season, but it amplifies the larger narrative of humankind and how much it is so dear to care for each other, to be engaged with the world, to offer compassion, to live out the best of our humanity in doing so. Now, see, that's one of the cultural messages, and a pretty powerful one. But I want to lift up one of the other ones. There's a lot, of course. There's a mix, but I want to lift up one of the other ones that came to my attention this week. Another message is how we expect children to behave themselves if they want gifts from Santa. There's a transactional thing happening here. So I was at the grocery store with my 11-year-old daughter, and when we got home, we found that we had something unexpected in our grocery bags, which was a little handout called the Elf Report. There was a pack of 25 of these and a little elf mailbox. And you're supposed to put the child's name, I bet people, but I think it's implying children, and check off whether or not said child listens to parents, says thank you, was kind to others, completes their homework, goes to bed on time. There's a naughty and nice spot for checking off, and a signed and dated. Oh my gosh, people. I mean, it's cute, it's funny, and no, no. It's, an elf report form. Oh gosh. I mean, I know it was meant for fun, but dang, why don't we just reinforce transactional relationships, shall we? Let's not. Let's not. I want to recognize the full complexity about giving, of time and talent and treasure. How many of us, again, offer more of ourselves, sometimes than is actually healthy, sometimes than we actually is good, that is actually is good for us. How much we also can deplete ourselves at this time of year. I want to recognize that too. And I also want to recognize how much we have genuinely mixed feelings about extending ourselves because of being hurt, because of being taken advantage of, whether intentionally or casually. I'm not sure which is worse. Or when we've just been plain ignored. I mean, Ebenezer Scrooge, his early life lessons came from valuing money over love by being ignored. This is partially where it's so important for us to talk about generosity whenever possible and to name it as one of our most important values. And I think it is one of our most important values in our society and in our Unitarian Universalism. In Unitarian Universalism, we're living with a new articulation of what we hold at the core of our living tradition. Over the past 2 years, thousands of people have contributed thousands of comments to a new statement of values and purpose and how we conduct ourselves. The previous statement, which is in our denominational bylaws, was enacted in 1985. And that has carried through for us for nearly 40 years. I mean, it's been including my youth and thoroughly into adulthood. And people really resonate with it. And we've kept a lot of the spirit and a lot of that language. We now have a new statement that really puts love at the center of everything, recognizing that we operate and depend on and have a lot of faith in the power of love that is all around us and within us, and that we keep bringing forth into our lives, acting out of care and love. And it's at the core of all of what we're talking about in terms of our values at this point: interdependence, pluralism, justice, equity, transformation, and generosity. Now, this is partially why we have these themes for this year, beginning this month with generosity. And we talk about the value, how it is important to be living with a sense of abundance, that we recognize how expansive and wonderful and fabulous the entirety of our existence is, and how do we do our best to operate from that, knowing that we have also, as human beings, modeled and practiced hierarchy and segregation and harm and separation and we have and you have not, and judgment as a result of that in our economic and our emotional systems. We are grounding our theology from a presence that there is enough in the world and that we are enough. That we recognize it is an act of love to recognize how every person is worthy. Every person is full of possibility. Every person can be part of this practice of care and respect. And maybe, and there of course are times when we individually don't feel so worthy, don't feel so wonderful, don't feel so connected and fabulous, but maybe with practice, even when you don't feel it, maybe practicing love, practicing being generous and caring can help remind us that there is more and there is enough for us too. We have this practice in so many ways in this congregation, including being generous in ways that sometimes are about ourselves and sometimes are not. As we're talking about in our congregational meeting today, we're asking the congregation to approve 2 major areas of focus for the coming year. One being climate action, and one being continuing our work on anti-racism and anti-oppression. And certainly, we commit to taking care of our earth and calling each other to it for our own personal benefit, right? I mean, we're on the planet, we like it. But it's also for those who are going to come after, or those we don't know. And the same is true for anti-oppression, anti-racism, and inclusion work. It's certainly for our own benefit because, as Dr. King says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, right? But also for those we don't know, and we will never, ever know. We are aware of the profound social and economic disparities, and we give collectively in an effort to make all lives better, especially our young people. And I think of this again, as I think of the gift from the gentleman in my church who came, was part of my classes and included me in his family's life, that I didn't know the nature of the gift at the time. I'm still pondering the depth of the gift now. I invite us in this moment in ways that are both thoughtful about our own capacity and also what we can offer into the world, to keep choosing love, to keep choosing to be generous, to do so with an attitude of gratitude and hope. So may it be. And now I want to invite Terry Malone to come forward and talk a little bit about what we have going on after service today and why, what we're doing, celebrating for social impact.
Good morning. So newsflash from the kitchen, we have 7 lovely kettles of soup just waiting for you. So before we head that way, I just wanted to put in a plug for this social outreach project for which the Sunday Soup Luncheon is the annual fundraiser for. You'll hear more at the congregational meeting in terms of exactly what all is involved with the Sunday Soup fundraiser for the Pleasant Valley School Outreach. That is what we do, and that is what this fundraiser is for. So it's an amazing program that we've been involved in for several years, and you'll hear more about it later. But I just wanted to remind you that we don't have any kind of an expected donation posted. Give as generously as you're able to give. And if you happen to forget your donation at home, that's totally fine. Come in, eat well, be fed, and then your tummies will be full and happy for the congregational meeting. And we're going to show just a real quick video that I think that you'll really enjoy. It's just precious. This is a video that was made for us from Pleasant Valley School. And it is a very personal thank you to the UU Church of Peoria for what we do. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you to the UU Church for all you've done for us. We truly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, UU Church.
Santa Claus, what's that? Who's he? No one cares for you, ostrich. When you're in an orphanage, it's a hard rock life. It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us. No one cares for you, ostrich. When you're in an orphanage, it's a hard knock life. 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 Thank you very much for the food bags. You really didn't have to, but you still did, and that's what makes you all amazing.
Cool stuff, and thank you for being kind citizens of Peoria. We appreciate you. Thank you for providing food bags for me and my school and helping people in need.
I'm blessed, looking in the eyes of my children, surrounded by the love I've been given. Don't wanna take a moment for granted. Sometimes it's so easy to forget to be grateful for the life I've been living. I'm learning to have faith in forgiving. Sometimes I lift my heart to the heavens just so I remember that I'm blessed.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me for our closing hymn, number 1008 in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Kindle New Sparks by Deborah Burrell. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame in this community. As this chalice flame is extinguished, let us carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond.
So let us go forth. Let us go forth from this space, taking with us the gifts of the Spirit, bringing them out into the world, that we may be of service in all the ways that we can. Let us move in love. Let us act in love. Let us be faithful servants with one another and the world. Our worship is ended. Let us go and do our service today.